So, obviously, with as much work as I've put into my hodgepodge sessions, I would really like you to check out my latest and take the time to actually get through it because there's a lot there that, there's a little bit of something there for everybody. But what I'm going to get into here is the psychological warfare patterns that I've had to discover through patterns. It's not just about abuse in what I'm outlining here, it's about systemic psychological conditioning that's designed to break down my self worth and my autonomy by keeping me in a state of confusion, fear, and dependence. So I'll break this into the five key layers and elements of psychological, emotional, spiritual, behavioral, and societal or social, sorry, and then close it with the recovery reclamation to truly require my life back from the abuse that I've endured and been endured. So, the psychological warfare pattern in what I've been going through has been a strategic abuse. It's manipulation, poisoning, and psychological targeting that aligns with what's known as psychological entrapment or trauma based conditioning. This type of abuse aims to split your identity, create a duality so that they can go to work on that duality that they create in a person. And it's to force you in a situation where you're doubting your own memories, you're doubting your own circumstances, your perceptions as to what's happening. It's basically gaslighting you to not allow you to feel safe and also not allowing you to escape what they're doing to you. It also creates this trauma bond where it's like creating a dependency that they position themselves as the only source of validation or help while being the very cause of your harm. They induce confusion through the gaslighting techniques that they use so that you can't see clearly to identify where that pain is coming from or who's causing it. They'll use silence and isolation to make sure that you can't easily verify your experience with others, let alone, like, for me coming out of a long-standing poisoning, it just sounds bollocks to people. Like, you can't assume that you can get out 40 plus years of that crime to somebody that's never experienced even a momentary part of it. Like, just one time being poisoned, or just one time dealing with the narcissist to this level of conditioning where it turns the victim inward, because there aren't natural systems out here that are trying to help people get out of this way. It's to create a way to be very inorganically created in your life to make you weak. But not only that, because it's your nervous system is overrun with the terror that you've been going through the whole time, and then finding out that these people were the ones doing it to you, you're just in turmoil that's just beyond normal. So your brain literally shifts from the logical thinking to pure survival mode throughout the whole entire time, and then it like amplifies. Like, you legitimately have to like expand your your abilities to get through it, and you already were, so you already felt like you're reached to your level, like you can't expand anymore, and yet you come to find out that those things, and it's just so hurtful and traumatizing. And in order to expand that further, I'm sorry, but anyone that doesn't believe in the Lord, good luck, because you need the Lord. You need the Lord there more than ever, because it's why victims often stay longer trying to fix their abuser, or while they're like seeking safety from the very sources that are actually seeking to threaten your life. So emotionally and your identity become completely damaged. You become completely damaged physiologically, even. When a person's boundaries are violated from early childhood through that neglect, betrayal systems, and covert abuse, and even very physical abuse, the nervous system learns hypervigilance. You become constantly alert for danger. You start reading everyone's emotions. You start learning how to read the room without even being able to speak, because when you're poisoned and you're suffocating to the cellular level, you can't even construct your thought process, even if you have a thought process there to put into words. So you're literally being run out of yourself while you're also establishing an empathetic or an empathic mirror for others to basically be able to see. And the abusers use that to as well to determine you or to push you under. But because abusers never allow you to repair or take accountability, you internalize the message. And without actually seeing through it and seeing clear through it for what it is, you'll be not only doubting your reality, doubting your perceptions, but you'll be making it as though it's just your fault, like you somehow are just useless, worthless, like I've felt my whole life because of what they had been doing. So over time, this produces that shame-based identity instead of you being able to identify to who you would be without the poisons, without the, invisible warfare where you're just like swinging into the dark, into the pitch black, like trying to figure out the covert warfare. You're blinded. And then on top of it, they're trying to muzzle you to like not allow you to speak, not allow you to get out, not allow you to work, not allow you to love. So you just feel very defective, unworthy of any kind of care. And this is the abuser's tactic to definitely infect your self-image, how you're going to be able to see yourself. So even after they're gone, the voice of your abuser and the things that they say, the things that they do, how they move, and their intentions like are questionable to you. So they start to basically get inside of your head, second guessing everything about who they are, who you are, and you actually get into a place where you're just condemning yourself for the very real open air prison system that they got you to internalize because they got you controlled. It's like the internal controller. So the cycle of inversion, when the abused become the abuser, then this is one of the most tragic and least talked about outcomes of long-term abuse. When pain is just too overwhelming to process, a person's psyche looks for a way to discharge that pain, and on unconscious levels, often it's to someone that would otherwise be safe or just close to them, but they might even do it unconsciously. So here's how it unfolds. Because the abuse individual carries unintegrated trauma energy, so it can be, like I said, like in a poisoning, you're reaching for love, you're reaching for care. If it's not there, then you internalize it. You might cry, you might be in a rage, you might feel a lot of grief and fear, and it needs an outlet that just isn't being allowed or isn't being found how to find. Like I've made songs, in my hodgepodge and stuff like that about where the coordinates of love is. Can someone tell me it's 44 north and 86 east? I don't, you know what I'm saying? But like, where is love? Without conscious healing, it's just that energy that's given onto you. It seeks a container, and that's when a person becomes a dumping ground for unresolved pain. I myself have chosen to sit with my pain and try to figure my pain out, Even at times when I was a kid, I literally just wrote numbers. I don't know why I did that, but it was just something to do to get away from what I felt was going on in my reality. I just literally counted throughout a whole notebook. I don't know what number I ended up on, but it was just to make sure, I think it was just to make sure that I could focus. And in the same ways that people have seen me at work, like I couldn't, if I got drawn away from focus and I got drawn away from God in order to keep focused on my work, I would get drawn away altogether because the manipulation shows up as that emotional neglect, unable to, self-regulate the emotional well-being of yourself in order to cope, and you just lose focus because that's what an arsenic abuse would do to a person. And it's not something that anyone would want. It was deliberate. But these people wanting to harm you, it just taught me the process of how to suffer safely without reenacting it. Because many times growing up, because of the abuse of my father, it would be reenacted. How is that intergenerational trauma then stopped when pain gets transferred and not transformed? Like you conform to the reality of the pain because it's the pain that you've always received. You don't know anything different, especially at young ages like 5, 6, 7. You know what I mean? But breaking the cycle requires you to recognize the impulse and to stop passing it on, basically metabolizing that pain instead of projecting it onto others. But I think that for others involved longer with my father, didn't learn how to do that and instead gained a, how would you say that? They gained some kind of energy from the inflicting of that pain onto another. And so that just never stopped because even if they had wanted to at one point or another, I think they internalized it psychologically that I would figure out and find out what was being done to me, and then I would find out how to escape, which was out of the question as far as the social and spiritual entrapment that comes next. Because it's touching on something deeper here when the spiritual warfare layer, it's like they don't want to let you go and they want to destroy your soul. If you're trying to be a good person, you're trying to climb up that ladder, as far as the demonology is concerned, they want to tear you down and they want to make sure that you are underneath their feet. You can't do anything better for yourself, because if you do anything better for yourself, then it shows them a mirror and it gives them a mirror. And especially when they were being the people that would be like, well, we're going to network market, we're going to do this, that, and the other, we're going to figure out a way to make this happen. But it was never about that. It was about controlling me, controlling my time, controlling my energy, and then even utilizing my energy against me, and then hacking me, hijacking me spiritually, ethically, morally, my love life, my work life, just every part you could imagine. It was about getting in the way of. So it left me in survival mode constantly without even knowing how to get out of survival mode to feign, fawn, or retreat, because you don't see something that you can't internalize to even know that you're missing. You know what I mean? Like, and that's what people don't really understand. But this is where abusers, especially the narcissistic, malignant ones or sociopathic ones, feed off of that energy or your psychic ability to see through the reactions, the fear, the chaos, the provocation, where they're just literally agitating you. And then so it creates that reality where basically the love becomes intertwined and freedom feels like betrayal, hope feels dangerous, and others in that kind of way where it's just enslaving you and others spiritually, ethically, morally, and not allowing anyone to get in your energy that is going to be willing to help you see what's happening to you. So, not only confusing the victim's sense of self worth, but infecting other people around you and their soul's worth for you, kind of like a parasitic infection where it just grows, or like lice, where if it goes untreated, it becomes that thing that constantly lays eggs, constantly grows, constantly gets worse before it'll get better. So it's draining all of your vitality to make the victim carry on that guilt of all of the darkness that somehow they feel belongs to them, or that they internalize as though like they're useless, worthless. It'll make you feel like a piece of garbage, basically, because that's their intention. The perpetrators want to throw up so much shade upon you and so much shade upon your name with others that you just don't feel like there is a way out. So, in order to break the cycle and reclaiming your sovereignty here, this is for your healing, and you don't just recover. You have to rebuild, you have to draw back, you have to take back your internal authority. So, it's to be able to recognize things. You're taking your recognition back, which I've already begun with trying to create, what was going to be like the most amazing website on the face of the planet. But you see the manipulation for what it is in the spiritual sight returning back to you. Well, at the same time as that, you also see that there's many devils in the details here. You can't you can't suggest to get out of something when everything that the poison did to you mimicked every other like little facet of area of your life. It doesn't matter if you were throwing up, had a hard time hearing, couldn't see, couldn't think, couldn't reason, suffocate, feeling like you're suffocating. I would even say that I don't know what's happening to me. I hope that you can help me figure it out, because anything I seem to say seems to be turned on me as far as it being a delusion. And so I'm just hoping that you can physically do something to actually see what's going on with my physical body. No tests are performed, not in the timeliest of fashions. Then police don't do anything. No one does anything. There's not anything out here to allow you to have that spiritual sight returned back to you. So you have to create boundaries. You have to remove yourself physically, emotionally, and digitally if you can from their reach. And these people want to weaponize their contact with you. So when you've been being hacked digitally and nonstop, you have a harder time getting away from these people. You have a harder time taking back your availability to yourself to be able to have an online personification without them tracking you, stealing your energy. I mean, it'll be like, say, a 12-year account, gone. It'll be a 2-year account, gone. It'll be a 3-year account, gone. This is how they hack you, so that your outreach that you're creating and your support system that you're creating is now having to start over from fresh. So they weaponize your contacts, they weaponize people close to you, they manipulate people close to you, they will bribe people close to you, they will bribe people to go inside of your energy, to go into your life, to continue the poisoning in ways that they can't even do themselves anymore, because you're reaching past the homelessness, you're reaching past the way that is to suggest to you that you need to not only detoxify your body from like the poisoning, but you also need to detoxify your body and your energy from the emotional ways that your body holds that story. And this is the hardest thing to do after this long of abuse. So it's kind of taking the somatic symptoms as they are into healing, prayer, fasting, detox baths, along with spiritual prayers, And it's just to help to try to purge your body from the imprint that was left behind in a body that's very stagnant made. Because if it wasn't in that way, and I was just able to be allowed to work or have a love life of my own accord and my own building, not a proxy, I know for myself that everything would be paid, everything would be fine. I would be still working probably, and well, yeah, more than most definitely I would be still working and probably working in areas that were better and more beneficial to my situation than less beneficial, you see. And so that they've been making them and staging them to be less beneficial and attacking me and my performance with poisoning me, well, now it's staged me to not even be able to drum, to paint, to draw, to write, in other areas. Now I'm writing in these areas to basically leave it out here in a way that's suggesting and should suggest to the listener that if something were to happen to me, these are the reasons why. All 4,000 videos or whatever it is. Instead of me actually being able to work on a funneling system for my website, much like they weren't allowing me to work at a paper mill or just doing anything. They wanted to basically insert that wedge to make sure that I had no ability to reconstruct my trust, and it's a way that they can slowly replace all of the internalized abuse with the voice that's one true to your own self, so that you can't do those things. And it's not only that, but on physical levels, like obviously my left arm has an issue, otherwise I would be drumming. But and it stopped me from my talent, so I go to the Lord about it, and I feel from the Lord and through discernment that they legitimately screwed up all of your gifts. They legitimately screwed up all of the talents that I, the Lord, gave you. So if the Lord is suggesting to me that through the anointing that was from Him to have these gifts and wanting to work for the Lord's behalf with the gifts that the Lord gave me, then they have a lot to answer to as far as their availability to God is concerned. Because loving yourself is ultimately a hard thing to do these days. Loving yourself to be able to and intrinsically be able to take that love and be able to share it with people around you when you're dealing with this heavy of abuse and this heavy of a proxy type of gang stalking. You have to personally allow yourself to align with the Lord, close your eyes, pray, and inwardly pray that the Lord can come into every aspect of your life. You have to have faith in the Lord that the Lord can do the impossible. It says right in the Lord's word that, that the Lord can make possible what other people around in the world think is impossible. So you have to believe in that higher performing self so that you can align with the Lord, have trust in the Lord, have faith in the Lord, that you can get that help. And then there's like this altruism with enmeshment, or with altruism without enmeshment, is because you can help others only once you're no longer trying to rescue your own self or the abuser through others. So it's about separating yourself from these people and letting go. And that is the part I'm having the most trouble with, because you can't just simply let go of that pain. That pain is ongoing, that pain is persistent, that pain is daily, that pain is minute by minute. And like the aftermath, for an example, of an arsenic person has organ failure, heart failure, trouble breathing, seizing or tremors, literally like sound sound problems, like loud sounds. So like really it really screwed up my ability to be a drummer because like at first it would literally like pop my ears and I just would not care because I loved to drum and I couldn't see what was being done to me, but I was just a shitty drummer on top of it versus like being where I was prior. I had ability and performance that was just 10 times better, or you know, a manifold of multiplication times better than when they got the arsenic in my body. And so these areas too were like breadcrumbing my reality just as much as all of the rest of the conversations and the placements and the positioning and the identity theft and the hacking and the pushing and the prodding against my person that allowed me to see the crime. So next is purpose transmutation. What they mean to destroy becomes your own message. This is exactly what I'm trying to do through my charity and my efforts with charity, is to try to take that pain and turn it into a passion. Because if they took away my passion for drumming and they took away my passion for love, they took away my passion to even work, you know, at converting facilities, for an example, to like really want to stay at a place for a long time and be able to work and perform and not have problems. You know what I mean? Because I had problems in many of my other jobs that are similar to the same enmeshment of the abuse that I was receiving. So if they weren't allowing me to work, well, I wanted to like basically take all of the bricks that were thrown my way and or all the lemons that were thrown at me and make lemonade type of idea. So within my mission for charity, I have many ideas. Like you wouldn't even believe like how actually amazing that this website could be, and not only for myself but for whole communities, whole cities, whole counties, whole states, this whole country, and all over the world, because of what it could actually create. Like what it would actually do to have it created the way it is inside of my vision. It would literally change the plethora of how a lot of things act. And I'm talking about systematically, how police and the system act, how the courts act when it comes to these things, how medical situations act when it comes to these things, and others, and many others. It would change the platforms of all charity. I mean, it would seek to change all of the avenues of how charity works, because oftentimes charity and these foundations aren't charitable at all. They're just offshore bank accounts for non-governmental organizations to hide up sex trafficking and bullshit. But it's a way that we can, as people, call out these people on their actions and say, no, we're drawing the line in the sand. And if you do not want to perform correctly, working with, and it should be working with the system to go after the perpetrators who are causing these victims, to go after the perpetrators of the crime and arrest them for their crimes, because they're crimes against humanity. To say it in any other way would be lying to myself, to actually think that there's availability of people to actually be able to do anything in the world right. Right is not going to work at McDonald's or going to work at some place making chump change. Right is not, say, a gig app community, like giving you orders that come up on your phone that are like half to a third of what they could actually be making off of it, and they're just literally utilizing everyone's rubber where the rubber meets the road, and that rubber is not meeting the road for you in your life, while these people have money, like money. So, like, how are you going to suggest that everyone all across the board just gets completely raped of their energy, time, gas, maintenance, wear and tear, rubber, where the rubber meets the road, their tires, just everything that goes into it, and yet they're not being paid even sometimes a worthy amount of pay. They literally hide the availability to pay you less than minimum wage unless you're like legitimately in a Lamborghini and you have the right to do like 90 and a 30. I'm not suggesting to that either. I'm not like saying go against the law. I'm just saying that if you're not like if it's kind of funny, but if you're not in that position to where you can like basically hold up your Freemasonry card to the police or something and be like, oh, you're fine, puppy chow, they'll protect their own. But when you are moving in any other fashion that's against these pedophile elite and the sickness that's out here in the world, you're under threat. You're like legitimately anything you do is under the gun. Doesn't matter what you try and do. So the project that I have written up anyway is a very cool project that, I mean, if I end up dying, I would still like someone to take up the efforts that I've put into it, but my whole life has been killed. My whole life. Like coming out of that long of a long standing poisoning, and like getting hit all the time, you're blindfolded, you're being blindsided, you're getting stabbed in the back basically by these people. You're in so much fucking pain. And you're just swinging into the black trying to figure out what the fuck is happening to me. What the fuck? Why would you do that? And then if you see someone doing something, then all of a sudden you're poisoned up. 5 minutes later, you're forgetting what the fuck they're even doing. What the fuck, dude? So they literally took like every avenue of my life away from me. So if my life goes belly up, well, birth to the grave. Did I even get a tiny little sliver of my life? No, I didn't. No. The answer is no. Am I fighting for my life here and there? Yeah, I am. Am I being recognized in the medical community about it? No, I'm not, and it's very weird. It's very weird. I just seem to be treated differently no matter what I do. And I think my personal opinion on it is that my dad's been protected. Child Protective Services never did a fucking thing for us kids, being that he could stalk me as a kid, and then shortly after that, I was almost kidnapped for the third time in my life by that same man that I learned when I was in the homeless shelter much later. The same man, Danny Heinrich, that kidnapped Jacob Wetterling, where I share the same birth date as Jacob Wetterling. I don't think that there's nothing to see there that correlates with the fucking pedophile group of satanic, fucking sick fucking Freemasonry, occultist design. They're not working for the Lord. They need to repent to the Lord if they're ever going to make it into heaven. And if they don't, that's on them. They want to take away life out here. They want to collect all our tax dollars so they can go to netting you. And then, like, they can go and put it into war against Palestinian children. Oh, good for you. So as long as you're okay with that as an American, by all means, enjoy the Lake of Fire. But for me personally, I hate everything, every last little thing that's out here suggesting that they're all hoity-toity, and if you have a problem going on in the world, you have people that care and will support you, and la da da la da da. It's all a bunch of fucking hokey bullshit if you ask me, because ever since I was a kid, I've been being pushed inside of a very covert warfare. of this magnitude. So the way I love is so much different than the way that people can consider what love is out here, because the way that these people love has nothing, absolutely nothing to do with real love. Nothing. And I think it's gutter trash, and it's sad, and people should be drawing not only a line in the sand and saying this far and no further. They've already done crossed and double crossed and triple crossed and quadruple crossed those lines that you could ever draw in the sand. So what next? Because I don't see an answer. I'm literally asking, like, what is the answer? I'm not allowed to even work up Mission or work McDonald's or do a gig app or go work for cash without someone wedging in between my availability and to be able to make it out of the situation that I'm in. So that's why I've been out here asking for a blessing. That's legitimately why I'm asking for a donation, because I would still like to create artwork. I would still like to create it and be the creator of it. Oh, I got 20 days left, or I got a little year and 3 days left to live. I don't give a fuck. I should have the 20 years plus or whatever I would otherwise have if these people weren't moving in the ways that they were to prevent me from having a life at all. But, I should at least be able to get the last 20 minutes of my life to myself, thanks very much. Like, let me die in peace, for crying out loud. Don't fucking stake fucking cyanide laced bullets at me and be like, haha, we got him. We got him this time. It took 686 times, but we finally did it, boys. Fuck these people. Anyway, anyone else that's listening out here, check out my Hodgepodge 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 session. Or you can check it out just separate sessions, 1 through 12 so far. I hope to be able to create more. I've just been a ghost of myself, feeling pretty sick these past few days. And I think it has something to do with the proxy that they don't want me going anywhere, so they legitimately act weird like around me, and I don't necessarily see it for what it is, and I don't have like my head on a swivel where I got people like sitting there like ready to pick people off for me or anything like that. I wish I did, because if then they'd be like, oh, we can poison on put do I know whatever. I'm not gonna like give people ideas, but it's the fact that I think that something happened to me again, and it really sucks, because it's like fucking hey, it makes you feel like you're just gonna fucking die. Like there's nothing you can do to get out of this crime, because these people are like, oh, we can't let him get any kind of real representation out here for what we've done to him. If that ever happens, it'll be all of us going down. Oh no. Whatever shall we do? Well, the answer is picking you off, because picking you off makes it unavailable for you to continue to try to reach an outsourced availability to yourself, to try and gain yourself some momentum and help. Wherever that is, please let me know the coordinates of love, because I would go there, and I would just be there. I don't know where it is, but maybe it's a traffic circle somewhere. I'm just kidding. It's not a traffic circle. I hate those things. But anyway, I'd rather people have jobs and build bridges. I guess we don't care about that anymore, though. Jobs, people working. Yeah, no. Artificial intelligence is taking over everything, and yeah, you know where all that goes. Anyway, I'm rambling now. Peace out. I hope you guys enjoy the slavery and the political climate. I'm not enjoying any piece of it.